due to gender biases in property rights that made it harder for women to use collateral for loans. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has revealed that Nigeria's crude oil production rose above 1 million barrels per day for the first time since July this year. Oil production in Nigeria per day last month in its latest crude oil and condensate production data for October 2022. That's it for the business news. Let's quickly take a break, and when we do return, I'll be taking you through the market. So we're seeing that China is shutting or is really trimming the quarantine period. We've also seen the UK economy that we saw the data. I'll be giving you more details on that, but as they're saying that the UK economy is on the brink of recession. What else is happening in Ghana? The naira is trading for that. If you want to exchange the naira for the CD, it's going for 33.34. That depends on buy and sell. What else is happening? I'll give you more details when we return from the break. To stay. This is Moneyline with Nancy. How vulnerable is Nigeria? What are the top challenges that the next leader, the next administration would inherit?
Part of the strategy really is to ensure that people have money in their hands.
We also need fiscal policies and actions.
The aspiration for us is to make Nigeria a net exporter of petroleum products.
We want to steer discussion to good economic policies to the benefit of the country.
It is in difficult time that nations take decisions to build and build their country.
You don't make more money on your you reduce your spending.
If you waste time or you spend time, what you are doing is you are wasting your ability to create wealth.
We'll still be talking about Nigeria's problems because Nigeria's problems no finish, you know? Welcome back. The local stock market had a bullish session on Thursday and closed in the green yesterday for the second day in a row this week. We saw that the Nigerian exchange saw some significant gains on large cap tickers like Airtel Africa, Axis Core, and GTCO, and that supported the benchmark all-share index, as you can see right here on your screen, by about 107 basis points to close at 43,942.82 points. Now the year-to-date return is still positive, but you know, at a modest 2.87%. I've told you on this show several times, we've seen the all-share index of the Nigerian exchange at over 15% at a time, sometime this year, but now it's been trimmed to about 2.3%. That's the year-to-date return. Let's see how we will close out this year. Don't forget that the Nigerian exchange was one of the best performing exchanges in the world, I think, in 2020. if not the first or second. Anyway, if you take a look at the market capitalization, you're taking a look at it there at around 23 trillion now. Now, on the other hand, market breadth ended negatively with 14 advances and 17 decliners at the close of Thursday's trade. Value trade increased by 71%, while volume increased by 203%. Now, if you take a look at some of the stocks that were most actively traded, they were Axis Core, Sterling Bank, Transcore. Those were the most actively traded stocks in terms of volume, while Airtel Africa, Axis Core also there, and GTCO, they topped the value chart for Thursday. What are market watchers saying? They are expecting a shift in the performance of the market in the absence of any positive catalyst as the bullish sentiment continues to be speculated. Let's see how that goes. Now let's move over to other African markets. After the United States market supported Asian markets and the most recent inflation data from the largest economy in the world exceeded the expectation, the South African GSE appears poised for a rally at the end of the week. So as you can see right there on the board, green numbers at the open today, especially after the S&P 500% is biggest single day gain. Now let's move over to Ghana, just the next one after GSE All Share. I told you earlier about Naira to the Ghanaian cedi. Ghanaian FX bureaus are selling the Ghanaian cedi to 14 Ghanaian cedi. That's 14.90 to $1. The Ghanaian cedi has also depreciated against the dollar massively, like we've seen here in Nigeria, especially at the parallel market. I did tell you earlier that if you want to get the Naira in Ghana, if you want to buy the Ghanaian cedi, you'll be buying for 34 Naira. If you want to sell, you'll be selling for 33 Naira. Anyway, let's move over to the United States, where stock futures for stock futures, I'm talking about the US, guys. Thank you. That's Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P 500, and Nasdaq. We saw that the CPI for October increased 0.4% for the month and 7.7% year over year. That's talking about the United States. So there seems to be a moderation there for United States inflation. At least it is reduced from about 8%. Now, if we move over to England, the Bank of England predicted last week that the UK would enter its longest recession since records have been kept after the economy shrank by 0.2% in the third quarter. That's for the UK economy. Now, you also mentioned a little bit earlier about China. China has shortened quarantine time following the publication of US inflation data in October, which gave investors some kind of hope that inflation had peaked. Would we say that here in Nigeria? Just keep your eyes on this show. We will continue to take a look at that. Our inflation in Nigeria is about 20.77%. We are expecting the next MPC meeting this month. Will the MPC raise interest rates again to tame inflation? That decision will rest with them. Now, talking about shares in the Asian Pacific region, we also saw that increased. Although there were fewer worries about a U.S. recession on Friday, investors are still looking at all of this. But if we take a look at oil prices, they're expected to drop more than 4% on the week after a rise in COVID-19 cases in China, which is the world's largest oil importer, raised the possibility of a weaker fuel demand because, of course, not so much work will be going on, so fuel prices or fuel demand would be lesser. We also taking a look at gold prices, and they're expected to post their biggest weekly gain more than 8 months, as US data showed a slowdown in inflation, and that is fueling expectation that the Federal Reserve will scale back its hawkish rate hikes. So as at this morning, spot gold was down about 2 basis points to around $17.52 an ounce, and prices have increased about 4.2% this week. Alright, that's it for the market. What else again do I need to say? Okay, on Naira, how can I forget about that? At the parallel market, we're seeing an appreciation, and I'm wondering why the appreciation is coming. But I spoke to a BDC operator, and he he did tell me this morning. I called before I got into the studio. The naira is going for 740 if you want to buy the US dollar, and if you want to sell, it's going for 730. That's the Abuja BDC telling me this morning. We know a few days ago that the naira depreciated to about close to 900 naira, and some of the reasons that were given to me was that why we saw the naira depreciated to that point was because of panic selling. But I did ask also this morning, are we going to see the naira depreciate further to about the price we saw it about last week? And it's really a market of demand and supply, but where it is right now at about 740, 730, it's still not a very good story to tell, really. And I'm asking, at what point did we get to this level? How come? How did we get to this level? Anyway, let's quickly take a break to bring in my guest. He will be joining me virtually. We will be talking about the pension industry. Are you saving for your retirement already? Do you have an RSA account? Some people will say it's an exclusive of public or civil servants, but even as a private business person, you can actually also plan for your retirement, because we will not remain young, and you've got to plan for your old age now, because in our culture we seem to depend on our children, on our extended family for help and for money. When you're going older, your son will send you money, your daughter will send you money, and all of that. We can actually also plan for your retirement as you are actively working. I'll be talking more about that with the Managing Director of Fidelity Pension Managers, Donald Onwaha. He will be joining me after this break. To stay. In our culture, we seem to depend on our children, on our extended family.
Here is a new and refreshing offer from our esteemed audience across the globe. The new AIT Cloud TV is an online streaming service that offers you attractive opportunities to view our rich, exciting, and entertaining programs anytime, anywhere. AIT Cloud TV is available on the web on www.ait.app, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and Android TV. You can also download the mobile app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Simply connect to the internet, download the app, register, and watch live or catch up on unlimited hours of exciting shows. AIT Cloud TV. TV on the go.
To June 2004, when the federal government under former President Olusegun Obasanjo passed the Pension Reform Act, giving rights to the current contributory pension scheme and the National Pension Commission, which oversees both the pension administrators, that's PFAs, and PFCs, that's pension fund custodians. Only public sector employees and employees of a select few corporate organizations were eligible for retirement benefits under the country's pension plans. Contributors to pension plans who are currently employed can now use the remaining balance in their retirement savings account to pay for equity contributions for mortgages. The pension regulator has also introduced what we call the micro pension plan. It launched that in 2019. How far are we doing? My guest is joining me right now. He's the managing director at Fidelity Pension Managers, Donald Onwaha. Mr. Onwaha, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nelson. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Now, let's get started, but I want to start from the basics, and I always like breaking it down for our viewers here, and I don't always assume that almost all Nigerian, or, every Nigerian out there is a financial literate, as it were. The financial literacy is still very low here in Nigeria. Explain to our viewers really what a pension is. Let's take it from that angle.
Okay, all right, Nancy, thanks a lot. And again, thank you for having me here. So, I think the first thing is to say that at some point, all of us are going to retire. Age is an important factor. At some point, you may not be strong enough to take up certain, types of employment. So it means that at that point, you will depend on what you've accumulated over the years for sustenance. So pension is simply a way of preparing for tomorrow, just to make sure that you have some level of income that will help you to maintain a decent standard of living when you're no longer working. Like you said in the opening comments, we've had all sorts of pension plan in the past, but during the tenure of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, we had a major landmark, pension reform. The first law was passed in 2004, which sort of brought some level of uniformity in the pension space in Nigeria. 10 years after, in 2014 to be precise, under the regime of former President Goodluck Jonathan, that first pension law was reformed to, strengthen the pillars of the scheme, and then also make it a lot more attractive. So it's essential that we will plan for tomorrow. It's important that while you're working, you're able to pay your bill. It's also important for you to save something for tomorrow. The principle is, if you defer consumption today, you would have something to consume tomorrow. So that's really the essence of the pension plan in a nutshell. Thank you.
So in essence, pensions is a kind of savings, really, but it's savings for tomorrow, as it were, so that you don't get to eat everything or get to spend everything that you're making today. So you've got to plan and build for the future. So thank you for that. At least our viewers can now understand that. I know you're a pension fund administrator. That's a PFA. Can you speak to me, apart from government, because if you work for government, of course, savings for a pension is a bit easier. But speak to me, and if you can give me like a figure, if you have, of perhaps the pensioners that we have in Nigeria. I know that PENCOM normally updates, but at least for those of you in the field, if you can give me an idea of what it is.
Okay, thanks again, Nancy. I think to start, just to share some industry statistics.
Yeah.
As at 30th of September 2022, we have approximately 9.7 million Nigerians with retirement savings accounts. And in terms of Naira and Kobo, we've been able to grow in leaps and bounds. We've been able to amass as much as 14.4 trillion. However, if you look at that number and compare that with working population, which is in the neighborhood of more than 40 million, you would see that coverage is still a major challenge. If you look at the pension reform act of 2014, whether you are in the public sector, that's federal government public sector, state public sector, or you operate within the private sector environment, or you run a business of your own, you would obviously, find a way, to have retirement savings account. So in a nutshell, if you work for government at the federal or state level, you're allowed to have retirement savings accounts. If you work for an organization with more than 3 employees, you're also expected to have a retirement savings account. If you work for yourself or a sole proprietor, or you just run their business, you can also have a retirement savings account under what is called the micro pension plan. So coverage is a major challenge. If you look at our population in Nigeria and the fact that we just have slightly below 10 million Nigerians covered under any sort of pension plan, it's really a challenge. The regulator, the National Pensions Commission, have done a lot, just to unbundle that space and allow Nigerians within the informal sector space to come under the pension bucket. And that's the major reason why PENCOM introduced the micro pension plan today. Thank you.
Okay, we'll be coming back to a micro pension plan in a bit, but I just still want to interrogate you further, especially as you've talked about, and it's a very abysmal statistic that we have. About 40 million Nigerians that are actively work, and 9.7 million of Nigerians, which is still less than 10% of about 40 million, do have RSAs. What do you think that is responsible for that, and how do you think that people like you and your colleagues can actually increase the coverage of pension culture in Nigeria?
I think it's also cultural. It's also cultural. I mean, we cannot divorce that from this discussion. Many people do not like to have conversations around pension or anything that has to do with retirement. It's same thing when you approach someone to say that why don't you have your will?
Yeah.
The next thing is that are you saying that I'm going to die? So financial planning is still at its infancy in Nigeria. But we're also doing a lot in terms of education. We have an umbrella body that is called Pension Operators Nigeria, PENOP. We do quite a lot in terms of visibility and media campaign, just to reach out to more Nigerians and sort of encourage them to plan for tomorrow. If you look at building a house, for example, if you want to build a house, you would first of all acquire land, and then you also need to get someone who is like an architect that will sit down and sort of design or draw the building that you have in mind. The architect will say you need to have a door here, you need to have window here. So the whole idea is there's some sort of plan with specifics, which will exactly know what you have in mind. But if you also look at retirement planning, many people do not take that route or that approach. What you find is that a lot of people will tell you that it's not my portion. Traditional retirement practices are failing, where we believe that our children will take care of us when we are old or when we're no longer working. So it's important that you have a pension plan today. What has happened is that through PENCOM, that space is now completely unbundled. So if you have a shop, a corner shop, and you do your business every day, my message to you is that at some point age will come upon you, and you may not be able to do a lot. Age comes with difficulty in terms of mobility, and at that point you also need to pay your bills. So if you have a corner shop, you can come under the umbrella of the micro pension plan today and register with a licensed pension fund administrator and save for tomorrow. The interesting thing is that while you are saving that money, also behind the scene researching the investment environment, investing your money in line with regulation, and some sort of investment income is paid to you on daily basis, which would help to preserve the value of your contribution. So at the point of retirement, you'll be able to maintain the same standard of living. So the challenge is cultural, Nancy, and I can also confess you that a lot has not happened around education, and that's why I'm happy that you've dedicated this platform and this time for us to reach out to more Nigerians and explain to them the benefit of a retirement savings plan and encouraging them to start one today. Thank you.
Now, let's take a look at, you've enumerated some reasons why this pension culture is there, and I like the fact that you said a lot of people don't want to talk about pension. People don't even want to think that one day they will go old or, something will happen. They say, God forbid, no, it's not my portion and all of that. But one thing is that death and age old age will definitely come. Do you also think that perhaps the pictures that we saw in the past, especially around the former scheme, the defined benefits scheme, is also a part of what has not cleared in people's minds and brains since the new scheme came on board? So people still take a look at, even if I contribute for my pension, they will not give it to me. Don't you see how government was treating its people and all of that? Do you think that that is really over, and that is also having an impact on the number of people that we see contributing for their pensions or having RSAs?
Yeah, I mean, that's you're right. If you look at the issue of pension in Nigeria, time will not permit me to go down, talk about what has happened in the past. The first pension law in Nigeria, up until when Obasanjo, powered that pension reform in 2004. So we cannot divorce the failures of defined benefit scheme with respect to the apathy that we witness today around the contributory pension scheme. Defined benefit scheme is not a bad scheme, but the only challenge is that the employer has obligation to fund that entire pension chain as it is. So it's called defined benefit scheme because at the point of exit, your benefit is defined. For example, under the old pension scheme in Nigeria, if you're working for government, and government will say that if you put in 30 years, at the point of exit, a certain percentage of your final salary will be paid to you as gratuity, and then on a monthly basis, a certain percentage of your salary will be paid to you as pension for life. So the challenge is around funding. So what happens is that every year, government will make provision for that payment in the budget. If the budget is implemented 100%, you will get paid. If for any reason why government is struggling with respect to revenue or challenge their own budget implementation, you're likely not going to get your money. So that's the picture of the old pension scheme. I mean, we all grew up to see pensioners under the bridge across the country, or pensioners protesting everywhere saying that they're not receiving their retirement benefit after putting in 30 years of service to our country. So the difference between defined benefit scheme and contributory pension scheme is that for contributory pension scheme, which is operational today, at the end of every month, your employer is expected to deduct 8% of your monthly emolument. The monthly emolument is defined as a summation of your basic housing and transport. So only 3 items are pensionable. The employer will deduct 8% of your basic housing and transport. The employer is also expected to complement that with 10% of your basic housing and transport. So it's 18% of your monthly emolument, which is 18% of your basic housing and transport. So your employer will deduct that and then send that to your pension fund administrator, your appointed pension fund administrator. So from day one, it is fully funded, so you do not have any liability at all. The employer is paying your salary every month. The money is sent to your PFA. So your PFA is licensed by National Pension Commission. The 20 PFAs we have today are private sector organizations regulated by PENCOM, and then we have clear investment guidelines. We have places where we're allowed to invest pension funds. We can invest pension funds in government debt instruments like bonds. We can invest in equity. We can invest in commercial papers, etc. So the whole idea is to make sure that your money is generating some level of investment return that will help preserve the purchasing power of your money, and that would help to preserve your capital, so that at the point of retirement you would have some level of decent income to power your dividend at that point. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about one of the new things that have been introduced, which is if you own a retirement savings account, as if you're an RSA holder, you can actually access funds for a mortgage. Can you quickly explain this, and what are the things involved?
Okay, so if you sit with retirees, I've worked over 15 years in the pension industry. I see them a lot. If they walk into our office and you ask them, what is your biggest challenge today as you are about to retire? The first thing that they tell you is that, shelter, it's also a major problem for them. You don't want to be paying house rent at the point of retirement. So shelter is a very big problem for most retirees. And it was on that basis that National Pension Commission had to also, listen to Nigerians to say that, the pension fund should also play a major role in unlocking, the housing market, and sort of allow, Nigerians who currently maintain employment today to be able to access mortgage and own a home, while they are working. So the whole idea of RSA mortgage is to allow retirement savings account holders to acquire residential mortgage, while they are working, and over time liquidate that mortgage loan so that at the point of retirement, you retire to your home. That will give you a lot of confidence. That will also help. To extend life expectancy at some point. So if you have a retirement savings account with any PFA in Nigeria today, and you have contributed for 60 months or 5 years, employee contribution for 60 months or 5 years, you can access a maximum of 25% of the RSA balance, as equity contribution for residential for residential mortgage. It's expected that that would help deepen the housing market. That will also help many Nigerians, own a home while they are still working. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a look at additional voluntary contribution. Some IRSs can make additional voluntary contribution, isn't it? What steps can they take to make this contribution? And if they do, are there merits to taking that step?
Okay, so I think the way to look at it is to say, typical of life, if today you decide to save money, immediately you have a problem. The problem is that where am I going to save that money? Should I put it in a bank savings account? Should I invest in equity? Should I also invest in money market instruments, etc.? So what are the benefits of leaving money in the bank savings account, or investing in equity, or maybe investing in money market, etc.? I was listening to you before this interview. If inflation is over 20% today in Nigeria, which is a major challenge. So if you're not able to achieve return over inflation in reality, you're losing money. So if you look at the pension law in Nigeria today, specifically section 4 subsection 3, you're allowed to have what is called voluntary contribution. So in addition to the 18% mandatory portion, you can also contribute more. So that more is what is called voluntary contribution. And if you maintain RSA, you can have AVC. If you work with an employer that has a closed pension fund administrator, you can also have voluntary contribution. If you work for an employer that has a pre-existing scheme, you can also have voluntary contribution. If you're the political appointee of any different state governor, an elected official, you can also have a voluntary contribution. So the idea is to save more, enjoy competitive return, and of course, because pension contribution is tax exempt, pay tax on that amount of money. So you enjoy tax relief. You will also earn very good return on investment, and that's the reason why I would encourage everyone to approach their PFA and start a simple ABC plan today. It will help you have some sort of emergency fund, so that whenever you run into some level of financial crisis, financial storm happen from time to time. A clear example is what happened 2 years ago when all of us woke up one morning. We were told that we can't go out because of COVID. Many people lost their job. Many businesses collapsed. The question is, what would you fall back to whenever you experience financial storm? So ABC can help you to have an emergency fund. It can also help you to achieve, some savings goal for yourself. For example, if you want to save, to buy a land, if you want to save to buy a vehicle, if you want to save for marriage, if you want to save for your kids, university education, you can also use ABC to do that. That way, you're reducing tax, you're also enjoying good return on investment, and you're allowed to withdraw from your ABC. If you are currently working and you have RSA, you can withdraw from your ABC once every 2 years. You can access as much as 50%, of what you've contributed once every 2 years. You only pay tax on the income if you're withdrawing before 5 years. If you're withdrawing your ABC after 5 years, you don't pay any tax on income. But if you're a foreigner or you are part of those exempted, you can withdraw all your ABC, once your contract is over. However, if you're withdrawing before 5 years, you pay tax both on the principal amount and income. But if you're withdrawing after 5 years, you do not pay any tax. So it's actually an excellent tool to save for specific financial goal, to also maintain some sort of emergency fund that will help you deal with crisis in life. Thank you.
Now let's talk about this RSA, that's retirement savings account. You see that many people in Nigeria really for now and today. Not many people do think about tomorrow. Are there benefits of having RSA to make Nigerians live better lives? That is one question. The second question also I would want to ask is that of micro pensions. PENCOM also introduced that and launched it in 2019, like I said earlier. What is the concept of this micro pensions, even as we almost round up the program?
Okay, so I will start from your first question. Why should a Nigerian have a retirement savings account today? Things happen in life. Financial stuff happen from time to time. Things that are not planned happen from time to time. Part of risk management is to be honest, to yourself, to say that something can go wrong tomorrow. So the whole idea of having a pension plan is to mitigate the risk of old age poverty, so that when you are old, you do not have to depend on religious organization or institution for your sustenance, or the nuclear family for your sustenance, or your neighbor, or your children. It is that you've accumulated savings while you're working, and that can also help you to maintain a decent level of living. That will also help you to live the kind of life that you desire. That will also help you, to achieve that dream, of living a decent life at the point of retirement. If you do not have a pension plan today, the things I highlighted may happen to you when you are old, and that's also a fundamental point that we must not miss out in the course of this discussion. So having a pension plan will help you to manage your risk better. Would help you to plan. For example, if you have a retirement savings account today, if you go to any paper website, you'll see a calculator that will help you to project how much you may likely have at the point of retirement. It's using your current contribution rate and the RSA balance, So you can say to yourself that my 25% lump sum, which I will collect at the point of retirement, would be X amount of money, which would help you to say if you want to go into some sort of vocation at the point of retirement, whether it's to start a small business or whether to do consulting, that money will become like a seed capital that will help you to achieve that dream. So in a nutshell, having a pension plan would prevent you from facing the risk that is very that is very real at the point when you no longer be able to take up some kind of work. So yeah, the second question on micro pension plan is to help bring Nigerians under the informal sector space to have some sort of pension plan. You walk around everywhere in Lagos, you find that many Nigerians operate within the informal sector space. So it will be a disaster if that space do not come under the pension coverage. What you will find is that you have a lot of your citizens when they are old, they are not, they don't have anything to take care of themselves. They don't have any income, to power their expenditure when they are old. So that's the whole idea of the micro pension plan. So if you have a small business or you operate on your own, the truth is that you have need for retirement planning, and the micro pension plan is what will help you to achieve that. Just to also make sure that Nigerian informal sector space also benefits maximally from micro pension. You are allowed to withdraw from your micro pension plan. You're allowed to withdraw 40%. So for every 1,000 naira that you contribute, 40% is available, for contingency purposes, and 60% is there for retirement. So if you have any needs to withdraw from a micro pension account, you can withdraw 40% of whatever you have in a micro pension account, after 90 days, of opening a retirement savings account with any PFA of your choice. So that way, if you run into any financial difficulty, you can easily come to your PFA and withdraw a portion from a micro pension plan. So it is something that everyone should embrace, just to plug that risk that may crystallize when we are old. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Noha. Thank you for this. This interview today is sounding to me like a pension 101 class. I hope to have you again sometime so that we can do pension 202 if we graduated, or we'll do pension 101 or pension 102. And I hope that our viewers have taken this so that it can help them, because everyone needs to plan for the future. So thank you very much, Mr. Noha. Have a great day, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you.
All right, I've been speaking to Donald Onoha, who is the Managing Director of Fidelity Pension Managers. You've heard it from him. In case you want to watch the show again, please do, so that you can get those nuggets and start planning for your retirement. You won't be 30 forever. You won't be 40 forever. You won't even be 20 forever. You've got to continue to save for your retirement. I'll see you all again next week. I am Nancy Naji. Be the best you can be, and be that change that you want to see. Bye now.
The evolution of our services started with you. Everything we've done since 2011 has been carefully considered with your financial goals in mind. Our financial universe is built upon two things: your financial goals and our values. By prioritizing integrity, transparency, and innovation along with our community, we empower you to achieve great things by leveraging worthwhile benefits. Our vision for you has become a reality as we've developed an ecosystem for investing, We hope that you find our rebranding to encompass those elements. If you thought that the first decade was great, wait until you see what we have in store for you in the next decade. Ultra Effects, focused on your goal.
Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. My guest this morning is Gbenga Omotosho. Mr. Omotosho is the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy. Let's add that bit too, and Strategy in Lagos State. A fine morning to you, Gbenga.
Good morning.
And thank you very much for making the time. Because, well, there's something to talk about. As I say it, even though I don't need to say it, but we're in the full-blown political season now, campaign season, and, well, it has been heard from some political opponents, contestants for the upcoming governorship election. It has been heard that, as a matter of fact, what has Governor Sanwo-Olu done in Lagos? No doubt you would have heard that. Now, if you're living in Lagos, if anybody is living in Lagos, I guess he wouldn't put that kind of a question. But in a political season, people will probably hear it. But still, to